What's your date of birth?
6th May 1982.
6th May.
Yes, sir.
And what about May Day?
Yes, sir.
What it is?
That is 1st of May, the Labour's Day.
Labour's Day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are the basic problems in India for labourers?
Sir, main problems will include more than one fact. The first and foremost being most of them being unorganized in the unorganized sector. Thereby, they are not getting as much social security as they could have had they been absorbed by the organized sector. This is what one in my priority list. Second one being that most of the laborer work is unspecialized, or even if they are specialized, they are largely underperforming or they are underemployment. So there can be a segregation of spheres, domains, so that their efficiencies can be utilized. These are the two.
What suggestions will you make for labour reforms? Give me two suggestions.
One, that their living standard that can be improved by giving them more of social security, covering them in social security like that in organized sector. Second can be that there is an evaluation of labor force as to what areas they are specialized, and then they are allocated respectively.
What is the difference between unorganized sector and informal sector? I've heard about informal sector.
Yes, sir, I have heard.
What is the difference?
I'm not able to instantaneously recall it.
Okay, we have a botanist here. So something related to, say, environment. So how much of importance do you give to environmental issues in today's political world?
Ma'am, I give as much importance to environment as to any other concern, such as peace, stability and all, because environment is going to play a very crucial role in near future. Peace and stability, they are going to contribute to the overall growth and development of human beings, but environment is going to be the guiding factor. It will become more a limiting factor.
Why?
Ma'am, because it is such a factor which cannot be corrected in a short span of time. If there is some imbalance which goes about with the environment, it takes a long period to correct that, and sometimes it may even become irreversible. My logic behind that.
And do you think, have you heard about the term called environmental security? You've heard about military security, political security, geostrategic issues. Have you heard about this concept called environmental security?
Ma'am, I have only a faint idea of that, not very specific about it.
Have you read about these wars being fought on environmental issues? Do you have any idea about wars being fought on environmental issues? Do you recall?
I have one idea about
Okay,
rivers.
if we talk about environment, what is it that comes to your mind? I mean, what do you think about? What is your notion of environment if we talk about environment?
My notion about environment is the various interplays, the interactions that keep on going around us, relating to abiotic forces, biotic forces, and many more.
Okay, and you don't mean the natural resources? When we talk about environment, do we not mean the natural resources that
We do, ma'am. We do.
So, have you heard about any battles, countries fighting with each other or having problems due to the sharing of natural resources?
Ma'am, precisely I'll say it's water.
Yes.
Water resources.
So this is an issue of environmental security, and there are a lot of wars, or there are trivial issues. This is not a trivial issue. I mean, in the past issues we had military problems, security issues. So now you just brush up your facts,
yes,
and there's the concept of environmental security, and there are almost 200 wars being fought all over the world over environmental issues.
Yes, ma'am.
You've heard about India and Nepal?
Yes, ma'am. I have.
Any issues between India and Nepal? What is the major discontent?
One relates to porous borders. There are then
Any other issue?
smuggling is there, forest resources are there, wildlife and biodiversity issues are there.
And sharing
Rivers.
sharing
Yeah.
of water?
Yeah, ma'am.
So-
That's also concerned. Thank you so much.
Which river is there?
One is Kali,
Yes,
sir, and the other is Rapti.
he just mentioned that there were wars for water in this water.
There have been strife. There has been a strife regarding water. I mean,
Strike, there is a difference between strike and war.
yes, sir. If I have,
Any water what is occurred in the world to date? Any what for the water?
sir, I'll say I don't remember.
I think you mentioned that it's a war and what for the water.
I might have misconveyed. I actually perceived that as a strike.
Okay, look, there might be war, but till date, no war has occurred because of water.
Yes, sir.
It said that you mentioned one thing in the beginning that labor reforms, the major issue is social security. That's what you said?
Yes, sir.
But the economic logic of economic reforms that are being undertaken in our country is the withdrawal of social security. Social securities are being withdrawn to facilitate the growth.
Sir, on this, I'll say my logic behind that was guided also by my recent studies, on which I found that a large section of unorganized sector was also given social security as per the recommendations of Arjun Sen Gupta committee. I might have been.
What I'm saying is that the logic of present model development
Yes, sir.
that we have opted, there shall be reforms, market rental, home liberalization. The stress is we should withdraw social securities. And social security have been withdrawn.
Sir, then I'll say my understanding is
What
incomplete.
is special economic zone?
They are, as the name indicates, they are areas in the economic boundary, in the territorial boundary of a country, which have certain concessions from the normal economic laws, rules,
Like what
regulations.
labor laws including, no?
Pardon, sir?
Labor laws includes.
Yes, sir.
That means what? Withdraw social security.
Yes, sir. That
Job
is,
security will withdraw. No?
that is there, sir.
What is Nandigram conflict?
That is related to.
What is Nandigram conflict? Teacher?
Nandigram conflict relates to the opposition posed on the acquisition of land, and there has been a massacre relating to that. That has created a national upset.
What's wrong in acquiring land or in industrialization?
There is nothing wrong in that, sir. But until we have a well thought over plan for rehabilitation compensation, it may be too early to go for that.
How do you articulate that? Are you sure that Nandigram government has not taken adequate care?
Sir, I'm not.
Industrialization, the land has got to be acquired. No?
Yes, sir.
Without
Precisely.
acquiring land, you
Yes,
cannot
sir.
industrialize.
Yes, sir. That's.
And how to, what kind of strategy is required?
Sir, I find that the masses are, or even the so-called miscreants, whoever are creating opposition, they should have been taken into confidence first, and we should also have ensured that there is rehabilitation. The people are taken into confidence first, and there is no message from the government.
What was the immediate provocation for the conflict? Have you been reading newspapers?
Yes, sir, I have been.
What was the immediate provocation for this conflict? When 14 people, 14, 13, how much?
Yes.
14, how many? 14. What was the immediate provocation for these 14 deaths?
People were trying to come into the land, like prohibited zone, or that were secured for some.
There's conflict between police force and people and some intellectuals, no?
Yes, sir, but I am not able to recall that correctly.
But the newspapers have been very clear that some of the blaze casters were without any state intervention. Police was not being permitted to enter these areas.
Yes, sir, there was.
And government wanted to establish authority.
Yes, sir.
What was wrong in that?
Sir, I again find the same issue there. That relates to rehabilitation only. That relates to compensation only. That relates to lack of well thought over plan. We have a plan for
The immediate provocation was government was trying to acquire some land that a conflict occurred.
Sir,
That's my question.
I'll beg your pardon. I don't recollect that correctly. I don't recollect that immediately.
Anyway, coming back to the home state, you are from Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
So what are the key salient features of assembly elections that are in this? Like assembly elections.
Sir, my knowledge precisely will be based on the newspaper readings on which
It's your
exist.
perception, whatever you
Yes, sir.
That's why I'm asking.
My perception is that the popular mandate, which is likely to come up, that is that the agenda of the parties will be largely deciding upon what will be the popular mandate.
predatory caste-driven politics is being practiced. No?
Yes, sir.
So, could we expect a democratic verdict when caste is playing so important role?
Sir, that is certainly a hindrance. That is a great hindrance in developing the
You said
truly.
there will be a democratic verdict.
I said the popular.
Is that possible? In a caste-driven context, can we expect a democratic verdict? Is there a conflict between caste politics and democracy?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
There is a conflict. Caste-based politics, if that is occurring in an area or within a population, then it becomes largely, the vote will become largely cautious. Extra cautious mandate will be there about one's own caste or one's own culture, and that may not be reflecting the aspirations of the whole mass as, in its entirety.
Are you suggesting that elections in Uttar Pradesh, the outcome will not reflect the aspirations of the people? That's what you are suggesting?
Sir, the recent trends or the past trends, they show that there is hurdle. There have been hurdles in creating a perfectly democratic mandate.
There is a lot of speculation on one point that Congress party is trying to win over Muslim minority. I think BSP also trying to set some new kind of caste equations. So what are these other trends in the politics?
Sir, we cannot be assured of what equations are going to take place, since it is going to.
What is your perception of minority voting pattern in Uttar Pradesh? How they vote?
Yes, sir. There are.
Minority I'm talking about.
Sir, there are external influences on them. They are guided by certain
So what
sentiments.
are the key consideration for Muslim minority in Uttar Pradesh to vote?
Sir,
Key factor that influences their choice.
Sir, it becomes to some extent, it becomes, or maybe to a good extent, it becomes the influences from the other communities, or the performances in.
Right?
Pardon, sir?
What are other considerations?
Communities, I said, sir. If
So my question is, what are the key considerations for Muslim minority in Uttar Pradesh that influences their voting pattern?
So
What is
there-
the key consideration?
the key consideration is the safeguarding of their supreme interests of the community. That is the key interest there.
Supreme interest of community, Muslim
Yes, sir.
community.
Yes, sir.
How do you define? Who will define what are the supreme interests?
So they vary. They vary. For instance, if they find, they perceive, the community perceives that their development, their growth, their representation is going to be represented by one party more, then that leans towards
What
that.
are supreme interests? You are using that term supreme interest.
Sir,
What are supreme interests of minority and what are supreme interests of majority? Can you define that?
sir, supreme interest of a minority is that it should have an adequate representation in various sectors or various forms.
In equal representation where?
In politics, in society, in government, in developmental aspects, and that supreme interest of majority.
It's primarily shared in power. It's primarily sharing
That
power.
is one of the factors. That is one of the key factors. Right.
That Muslim minority is aspiring to have greater share in power.
True, sir.
And that's why they vote for Muhammad Singh.
That is also why they vote for that.
Did they get greater share in political power by voting for Muhammad Singh?
Sir,
Muslim minority voted for Muhammad Singh. Is that true?
sir, I don't adhere to this view. In
In last elections, Muslim minority voted for Muhammad or not?
no, sir,
No.
I don't adhere to that completely.
So where they voted?
Sir, they voted to party, not to Mulayam Singh Yadav. I said.
Okay, Samajwadi Party.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
They
Did they vote for Muhammad Singh Yadav party in last election?
they might have voted. It is a secret ballot, sir. We cannot predict the voting behavior.
Then how we evaluate political trends if we cannot predict?
We would largely depend on exit polls, and I find them just as a tool of amusement or some current
How
awareness.
can they analyze politics? If it is secret ballot, then that democracy is just simply
And-
concealed.
That's right, sir. And most of the
We
times,
do analyze that with the pattern of Muslimality voting. We do analyze that. No? So can we presume that it's a secret kind of a thing? So can we presume that Muslims of Uttar Pradesh they vote for BJP?
why
That's your
not?
argument.
Yes,
That's your
sir.
argument.
Yes, sir. We can presume.
So can we presume that majority of Muslims of Uttar Pradesh are voting for BJP?
No, sir. Again, that secret ballot comes. We are
How
not.
do you know it, eh?
Sir, we are not sure about the
We
numerical
cannot presume
strength.
it.
Pardon, sir?
We cannot presume it.
No, sir.
That Muslims are not voting for BJP.
Presumptions are not a part of
BJP politics is in the interest, in the supreme interest of minority. Isn't that?
Sir, when party comes to power, it is not in the interest of some community. It becomes that of a state.
You said we can presume that Muslim minority might vote for BJP in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
It might vote for that.
Yes, sir.
Then does it mean that BJP is in favor of supreme interest within court?
Sir, maybe, sir, since it is the constituency which is going to be the determining factor.
BJP is politics.
Pardon, sir?
BJP is practicing politics, right of politics.
Sir, that is a party-to-party affair.
That right of politics is in the supreme interest of Muslim minority.
Sir, I couldn't get it.
The brand of politics
Sir?
that BJP is practicing, is that politics in favor of supreme interest of Muslims?
Sir, I think they should be left to perceive that. The Muslims should be left to perceive that. I should not be the determining factor. Yes, sir.
Acha, tell me, Amar Singh says there Uttar Pradesh and Uttam Pradesh, but I feel it is Uttar Pradesh. Except crime and criminals, UP does it have anything else to boast of besides crime and criminals?
It does.
Bihari, Bihari, what else?
Yes, sir. It does have.
What? Tell me, I have not heard.
I find, sir, the human resource potential that is there, if it is actualized.
Potential, I am talking what is there in the present potential.
Sir,
India is also potential world power.
yes, sir, if we come to concrete data, even then we find that Uttar Pradesh has recently shown some progress in its fiscal management. We are coming to be a surplus economy from a deficit.
Uttar Pradesh surplus economy.
Yes, sir. 5% growth GDP.
Thank you, sir. Amitabh Bachchan advertising.
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe because of Bachchan family.
Sir,
Because even Maharashtra and Karnataka, which are leading states, have also fallen
Sir,
back.
on this I accept that my source of information has been secondary one, but this has been a data which I have from.
UP is such a state, it has a lot of resources, but unfortunately, nothing is.
Sir,
What is happening?
sir, it will happen.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
you are sure.
I'm sure, sir.
My moon
Sir,
will happen.
sir, only few things are there to celebrate. Why to start doubting on them? Sir, let us try to materialize them rather than doubting them.
I don't tend to be UP. What do you So you believe that Uttar Pradesh is Uttar Pradesh?
You believe in our
It is in the process of being Uttar Pradesh.
They have been the process for so long.
Yes, sir.
It will get tinned and canned and exploded by the time.
Sir, we have a large population and it will take time. It's a slow pace and it is justified regarding the size.
Seriously, don't you think that crime and criminal really there is no law and order in this country?
There is little law and order rather than no, but
It's a very modest way of saying it.
yes, sir.
But or you can say that there are enough laws, there is no order. There are enough number of laws in UP, there is no order.
Yes, sir, there have been instances of violations.
Okay, just one very small thing I am asking.
Yes,
There
sir.
is one column in your form, category. There is right general, OBC, SC, ST, whatever.
Yes, sir.
On what basis this categorization is made in Indian Constitution? On what basis we categorize? Can we say that it is simply dividing the society on caste lines?
No, sir. Precisely not. Sir, Constitution, if I am able to recollect, then Constitution in the fundamental rights provision states that the state or the parliament by law can make special provisions in favor of backward sections, socially deprived sections, and sections should not be simulated, I hope, with caste.
Now we call OBC other backward class.
Sir.
Do we mean that India is a class-based society?
Sir, it is not only a social consideration over there. The class concept in India is not only, it includes many things and more than one factors.
Is India a class-based society?
Sir, the classes, they are not distinct, they are blurred.
We name OBC other backward classes.
Yes, sir, the debate is still on, sir, as to limit this, or with regards to its delimitation, still the debate is on as to how to recognize.
Okay. Regarding your hobby, you've put in Indian classical music, vocal and instrumental.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your forte? What is your strong point?
Um,
I mean, what do you sing? Do you play?
I sing, ma'am, and I play as well.
And what is this is Hindustani classical music that you play?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what is your achievement? How far have you gone in?
Ma'am, in the absence of a formal education, I have been solely relying upon the audio cassette records, live performances, whatever I could have filtered from that. I'll try to emulate and then innovate upon that. And in that, I find that I am able to entertain myself at least. With that.
Yourself and not the audience.
I'm still into this.
That is a kind of secret talent as well. That cannot be presumed.
Okay, so shall we talk about?
You said something OBC, no? What is it from OBC?
Other backward classes.
Classes
Sir,
or caste?
classes.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, tell me, where is the Malacca Strait?
Malacca Strait. It is in the Southeast Asian region, sir.
What is its importance?
It is a passage which connects the Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean in a long run.
No?
If we consider ocean-wise, then it is a strait between Indian Ocean and Atlantic Ocean, sir. I am not able to recollect exactly. Pacific. I beg your pardon, sir. It was Pacific.
And where are the Straits of Hormuz?
It is in the Arabian Sea. I think.
Name one American base in the Indian Ocean.
Diego Garcia is the, if I am able to recollect that. Diego Garcia is the island where there have been news.
But has there been some problem late sometime back?
Sir, I'll say I'm not recollecting that.
There were some new initiatives in Middle East recently for revival of peace talks.
Sir.
What future do you see?
Sir, if it is a matter of individual perception, I find positive trends there. It is the first time in the history, if my source of information is correct, it is the first time in history that there has been an initiative from all the 22 states of the Arab League. So, and they have also given a positive trend that they will be recognizing, implicitly they have said that they will be recognizing Israel as a state if Israel agrees to restore the pre-1967 conditions.
So how much you are sure that this if is going to be removed? If Israel agrees. This if is present since Camp David.
Sir, there would be some improvement, I am. Because
What
there have
basis
been proposals that even now people to people or even state to people interactions will be sought after.
Can you name 2-3 countries that surround Israel?
Sir, Lebanon is there, Syria. I hope Iran is there, sir. Egypt is there.
Iran border is touching Syria, Israel. Iran is a common border with Israel. Are you listening there?
I'm not able to visualize, sir. I'll beg your pardon.
No, at one point you said that Arab League countries, they have parts of Israel who withdraw to like pre-1967 position.
Sir,
And you are very optimistic about it. That's what you said?
sir, I'm a little bit optimistic about that.
Not very optimistic about it.
Because, sir, these are long-term problems and they will need long-term solutions.
Israel is everything. What does it mean? Restoring pre-1967 situation means what?
It will,
Withdraw from where?
sir, from most of the territories that it has acquired in Lebanon, in Syria, in
this territory.
Gaza Strip, in West Bank. From that, it will have to contract it back to its original.
And Syria, what is the territories that Syrian territory that you like?
I recollect it to be Golan Heights.
You are not sure about it. Good nights.
I'm sure about Golan Heights. Yes, sir.
Not sure about the other territories. What other territories?
In Syria itself, sir.
You said pre-1967 situation.
Situation.
What is that pre-1967?
Sir, Israel was contracted to a very small size at that time. It was formed carved out of Palestine, and it had a very small size, and it did not have any possession on the most of the surrounding Arab countries. Their territories were totally free from the possession of Israel, and then suddenly an aggression took place and it occupied them.
But Jerusalem has something to do with that.
Yes, sir. Jerusalem is there in the Gaza Patti area, Gaza, West Bank of
When
Gaza Patti.
Israel captured Jerusalem,
Sir,
when,
sir, I don't.
What are two major challenges before India's foreign policy at present?
Development,
That every foreign policy has.
yes, and that is a major challenge today. Development with democratic values all the time, sir. It's a major challenge.
At present,
Here.
or it has the main challenge is 1951.
It is a perennial challenge, of course.
No, I'm asking some specific challenge. This is a very big term.
Yes, sir.
This is a very big term.
Right, sir. I'll amend my statement and I'll say that energy security will be a challenge and global peace.
Shall India depend only on trans gas pipelines for energy security?
No, sir.
What she shall do?
She should ensure that there is a possibility of multifaceted energy supply, so that even if we have some constraints on one side, we can rely on others, and our continuous supply of energy that is not hindered.
I'll pick up the thread from man's question which you asked earlier. We have been working for environment protection since long, such as decades. Still environment is not protected.
Yes,
What
sir.
is the major challenge? Why it is? The entire world is working.
Yes, sir. I find it to be the slow pace of attitudinal transformation towards environment to be the major factor. And we are also expecting much from state actors only.
To give specific issues, specific problem areas which do not help in environment protection or environment achieving the level we would have wanted to. Give specific problems.
One is our huge dependence on fossil fuel. Second will be our, that is related to somewhat the consumer aspect, that we rely upon some non-biodegradable articles such as polythenes, and some other articles such as asbestos is there. They are also creating problem. We are also not having adequate resource or technologies, I'll say, to mitigate or to deal with the effluents which are coming out of the industries. We are also having problems with pesticides and excessive use of chemicals in our fields. These are some of them which I can relate.
Where forests that are perishing, they are not posing a problem to the
Certainly, ma'am.
environment.
Certainly, ma'am. I will append
That is
that.
one of the major problems. And from environment, do you rate it, how on a scale of 10, how would you rate environment? If you had to rate amongst politics, economy and environment, which would you rate as the highest problem to a country? Which area a country needs to give more trust to? Politics or economy or environment?
Sir, being a student closely associated with the environment, it will be a very painful question. Let me accept it. But as a common sense, I'll say we have first to focus on politics, then on economy, then on environment. Because without a stability in the first two regions, it is very hard to take steps in the third one.
Don't you feel that politics needs a good environment?
Sir,
The environment should be kept at number one position.
Sir, politics needs a good environment. That is true. But environment can be good only when there is good politics. This is also a statement which can be added.
It's politics that creates environment, or it's environment that creates politics?
Sir, both create each other. One creates the other and the second maintains the other.
Do we take good decisions sitting under green trees, sitting in a good garden? There's an environment and it cools your patience, it makes you more patient sitting in a garden. Do you take better political decisions? What do you say?
Political decisions are largely not affected by immediate surroundings, I hope. They are a result of well thought out plans and sentiments.